Mr. President, in a moment, my friend and fellow Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith will join me in taking a few moments to highlight the damage done, the devastation done by Winter Storm Fern, along with the resilience of our community and the citizens and leadership there. Fern covered much of Mississippi with freezing rain, and then a week of low temperatures locked in the blanket of ice. Nearly 200,000 homes lost power. Road travel became almost impossible. Temperatures are rising a bit now, but tragically, there's still very much devastation. And at this point, 26 Mississippians have lost their lives because of this winter storm. And that number, unfortunately, is rising every day. I do want to commend, as Senator Hyde-Smith will, the communities, the churches, the schools, the businesses, donation centers, neighbors using Facebook to coordinate food distribution and boost morale, and the crews from Mississippi and from all around the country coming to help. At this point, we have 80% of affected homes now have their power restored. I commend local leaders, mayors, commissioners, the response team from FEMA, many of whom we know personally, and we're thankful for what they've done and for the resilience. I've said this in past years. In Mississippi, our federal delegation is in this for the long haul, just like we are with the tornadoes that occurred earlier. And we're grateful to the President and for our friends at FEMA for helping us recover. Now, if I might, before I yield to my dear friend, I want to point out an article that was in the magazine Garden and Gun, published by Garden and Gun some 2 days ago, by Beth Ann Finley of Oxford, Mississippi. Beth Ann Finley, for 5 years, was our state's poet laureate. And she published this article in Garden and Gun, which says, "A beloved oak fell and Oxford rose." She could just as easily have said, and then the entire state of Mississippi rose. But she talked about the experience that her family encountered, and you can multiply that times all of the households. She says, "It was 3 a.m. and my husband and I and the youngest of our 3 children, the only one still living at home, huddled in a dark living room, jumping out of our skin with each new explosion, each crack of gunfire, except it wasn't explosives or gunpowder. It was our trees blowing their heads off and smashing to earth or thudding to our roof." She points out that we had learned during a severe ice storm some decades ago that water freezing in trees expands them too rapidly. They explode from the pressure, taking power lines with them. Some folks lose power for weeks. It's the sound of gunfire. A very good article, very well read by someone, very well written by someone who would be poet laureate. And she ends bemoaning the tree, but observing and celebrating the spirit of Mississippi. And she says, "The ice will melt, and the people of Mississippi will roll up their sleeves and crank their chainsaws. The logs will be cleared, but an uncanny new light will compress the violently lopped canopies. On our corner, the picnic blanket of shade our oak had tossed down will go unfurled. The bewildered birds' questions will go unanswered. The squirrels will take new routes to work. The anthem of November will be forever altered without the north wind's scattershot of acorns on the roof. Then she ends by asking, do trees have souls? Maybe it's an unanswerable question, she says, or maybe the answer's never been more obvious. I ask unanimous consent, Mr. President, that this article by Beth Ann Finley be included in the record after my remarks.
Without objection.
Thank you, and I yield the floor.
Mr. President.
The other distinguished senator of Mississippi.
Thank you, Mr. President. I join my colleague, Senator Roger Wicker, to draw the attention of the American people to the widespread devastation caused by Winter Storm Fern. This powerful storm has affected millions of Americans across the country, but its effects were especially severe in the South, a region not typically equipped to manage prolonged snow, ice, sleet, and dangerous winter conditions. This storm was particularly devastating in Mississippi, a state that simply lacks the infrastructure and equipment necessary to respond to a storm of this magnitude. We are just not prepared and certainly don't know how to drive on the roads during this time. Tragically, Winter Storm Fern has claimed the lives of at least 26 Mississippians as of February the 2nd. Each loss is heartbreaking and comes with so many stories, as Senator Wicker reflected upon. The breadth and severity of this disaster have left swaths of the Delta and North Mississippi with landscapes littered with shattered trees and downed power lines. Line crews in this bitter cold from Mississippi and other states are making steady progress in restoring power to nearly 200,000 families and businesses that lost power. While we applaud that progress, it may still take another week to fully connect everyone, especially in more rural counties that lack resources. Long-term recovery, of course, will take much longer than that. I'm grateful for the strong response from our state and federal partners. More than 600 Mississippi National Guard soldiers are on extended deployment after performing critical missions, including road clearance, refueling operations, distribution of goods, and conducting welfare checks. This Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks is assisting with welfare checks and emergency calls in Alcorn and Tippah counties that were hit so hard. Numerous state agencies are playing vital roles in the response, including the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency, Mississippi Department of Public Safety, the Mississippi Department of Transportation, headed by Brad White, Mississippi State Department of Health, and Mississippi Forestry Commission. FEMA has also been on the ground, providing $3.75 million in rapid emergency funding for generators, debris removal, and other urgent needs. I want to also recognize the extraordinary contributions of volunteer organizations. We certainly feel better when we see them pull up, including national groups like the Salvation Army, the American Red Cross, Samaritan's Purse, and Christ in Action, as well as countless local organizations whose help has been invaluable to our state. These accolades cannot overshadow the resiliency and kindness of individual Mississippians who are simply looking out for each other to overcome yet another natural disaster. Still, the work is far from finished. I, along with fellow members of the Mississippi Congressional Delegation, strongly support Governor Reeves' request for a major disaster declaration, and we encourage President Trump to approve it swiftly. I ask my colleagues and the American people to keep the people of my state and everyone harmed by Winter Storm Fern in your prayers. Thank you, Mr. President, and I yield the floor.